Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge. In fact, I'm a lot more proud of these 7 new bookshelves that I had to get installed to hold 2,000 new books that I bought. It's like the billionaire Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn.
Tai Lopez, the online entrepreneur you know best from the Here in My Garage videos and knowledge, has been accused of operating a $112 million Ponzi scheme with his partner, Alex Mir. Now, this is alleged by the SEC, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, on this day, September 25th, 2025. If you are not familiar with who this guy is, Tai Lopez, he's been around for well over a decade, maybe even 15 years since I've been online and on social media. And he's well known for his YouTube videos and YouTube video ads and other social media posts where he claims to make a ton of money as an entrepreneur and with knowledge that he learned from reading tons of books and from his mentors, his secret mentors. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Just bear with me, you guys. This guy's story is crazy. And then he wants to teach you how to make money also. And what the gig is that he gets these flashy Lamborghinis, these flashy mansions, mainly and allegedly, and proven in some cases, where he's simply just rented them. And he claims to be able for you to sign up for one of his courses, $200, $500, $1,000, whatever it might be. And he will teach you what he knows, all of his knowledge, and help you make millions of dollars also. And the way he gets people's attention is through these ridiculous social media commercials. That's what you can refer to them as infomercials, where he shows off these mansions, these beautiful women in bathing suits, these big houses and expensive flashy cars. He goes on and on and on and on with these ads nonstop. You couldn't play a YouTube video in the early 2020s or 2010s without Tai Lopez's informational infomercials popping up in front of you, claiming to help you make millions of dollars. Let's take a look at one of them right now.
To give up is greatest right before you're about to succeed. 99% of the world, I read a statistic, gives up if they fail 3 times at anything. For those of you who feel the most pressure, that is probably a sign the breakthrough is close. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my party.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Exhibit A of how Tai Lopez would reel people in order to sell them courses to make himself rich by basically claiming to tell you how to get rich. And so, in fact, in one of the videos, it was hilarious. He had like a $20 million Beverly Hills mansion that he was living in, and it turned out it was rented for like the day to film the video. He would turn the corner in one of the hallways and be like, here's one of the bedrooms that we love, and it'd be like a pool hall. And he'd turn this corner and go, this is one of my biggest bathrooms in the house, and it was like the butler's den. He didn't know where anything was because he had never been in the house, but was claiming to live in it. And unfortunately, this country, in the United States and worldwide, people fall for this stuff. They believe these online shysters. They literally see a mansion, they see a car, they see beautiful women, and they go, oh my God, I want that. And they fall for it so easy. And I imagine what the SEC is claiming today, this $112 million Ponzi scheme, is based off of all of that smoke and mirrors. Let me read what they have said. So there's more to it than just his courses and his online scheming and scamming and BS that this guy has fed people for the last 10, 15 years. It says, a pair of flashy, and this is directly from the New York Post today, a pair of flashy e-commerce entrepreneurs who bought bankrupt retail giants, including Pier 1 Imports, Radio Shack, and Modell's Sporting Goods, have been accused of running a $112 million Ponzi scheme, according to a new lawsuit. So currently, this is civil. They are not in jail. They have not been arrested. But if what the SEC is alleging is true, these will become criminal charges. I assure you, these are big criminal charges that will go on to American Greed, the TV show, right? So Tai and his partner Alex Mayer, who I put up here, they figured out a way to buy Pier 1 Imports and Radio Shack and Models, but they can't figure out a way to make honest money. And if they did make honest money, they weren't happy with that. They got super greedy and had to go steal other people's money. Or perhaps, allegedly again, they stole money from people through all these schemes and scams and lies, and they used that money to try to invest it into legitimate businesses like Pier 1, Radio Shack, and Models. The problem is they bought businesses that were going bankrupt. Not the greatest thing to invest your money in, right? The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has accused Alex Mayer and Tai Lopez, founders of Miami-based retail e-commerce ventures, REV, of duping investors out of roughly $112 million, according to the Federal Southern District of Florida filing obtained by the Post. It's only about 3.5 hours southeast of me, over on the other coast, in the Atlantic coast over there in Miami, so I'm in Tampa, so they are fellow Floridians, which I didn't know because every time Tai did videos, he was always in Beverly Hills or California. I never really saw him in Florida. Mayer and Lopez were known for snatching up struggling brick-and-mortar brands and attempting to rebrand them as online-only shops. Their business portfolio included Dress Barn and Stein Mart, in addition to those other stores that we talked about. Mayer, an Iranian-born immigrant who worked in risk and safety management of NASA's space exploration missions, man, that guy has a past, teamed up with Lopez at the height of the retail carnage in 2019 when nearly 10,000 stores went out of business. That's a lot, but even more have gone out of business since. I've done tons of videos on this channel about companies going out of business year after year after year. Lopez is also a social media influencer who's written several self-help books, including his 67 Steps on How to Become Wealthy that incorporate teachings of powerful and famous people like Bill Gates, Charlie Munger, Peter Drucker, Gandhi, and my personal mentors. He always claims he has all these personal mentors. It's complete nonsense, BS, in my opinion, allegedly. He's just made this whole spiel up in order to suck people in and reel them in. Hook, line, and sinker. These guys are just scumbags, in my opinion. And I'm so glad that he's finally going to possibly go to jail for this. He's got a picture of himself. He always used to do this. Picture of himself with Floyd Mayweather at a Lakers game. He would always flash all this money and prestige and cars and you name it in order to reel people in. Because if you see that, you're like, wow, this guy's successful. Maybe I can learn from him. That's not how I think. When I see that stuff, when I see people trying so hard, I immediately go, what's he hiding? What's his scam? What's the scheme? He's full of it, right? People don't get rich like that. I'm skeptical immediately. In one of their high-profile deals, REV acquired Radio Shack in 2020, 3 years after the chain's second bankruptcy. They also picked up Modell's assets and Pier 1 Imports in an additional 2020 acquisition of bankrupt companies. The business-savvy pair allegedly made material misrepresentations to hundreds of investors about the brand's performance between 2020 and 2022, including claims that the companies were on fire, the SEC alleged. So again, they duped people, hundreds of investors. 100 investors at $112 million is clearly $1 million plus per investor. So they were duping high net worth people, people with lots of money to invest. How do you have so much money and you can't figure out that Radio Shack is not on fire? Isn't that like common sense? Nobody goes to Radio Shack. When was the last time you were on radioshack.com? Is that even a website that's available to look at right now? Let's check radioshack.com. Like, who even goes to these sites? It is actually a website that you can purchase things off of. How do you not know it's not on fire? No one's visiting Radio Shack, right? Like, they lied to investors saying, oh, we bought it out of bankruptcy and now it's doing amazing. How would you as an investor with enough money to invest, smart enough to build a nest egg, go, wow, Radio Shack, that's an amazing investment? That's dumb, right? That's super dumb. They also allegedly made bogus promises to prospective investors that money raised for their companies would only be used to fund that specific firm. So only the company, the money they were raising, only funded that company that was buying things in bankruptcy and building it. Contrary to those representations, while some of the REV retail brands generated revenue, none generated any profits, the lawsuit said. So they were lying. Their companies are selling stuff and making money, like generating money, but there's no profit. It costs way too much to operate, way too much to buy stuff, way too much expense and overhead. Those companies went bankrupt for a reason. But you can bet in every picture you got Super Tai here with his Rolls Royce, you know, here in my garage. These guys are shysters, man. When they go to these links, They're absolutely shysting you. They're scamming you. They're scheming you. When they're showing you mansions and Lambos and Ferraris and they're always out, 99% of the time it's a scam. The investments you want to get into are the low-key, smaller ones where you can put a little money in, you can make a little money, you can get out. Nobody's balling out in Europe and Vegas. Nobody's, these people that are doing these investments that are really making money are in their head down, making money, investing, working, and not out partying and balling. Like when he's out doing all these parties, when does he have time to make any money, to run these companies? That's your first thing. You got to get somebody who's actually out there working. I work with a handful of people on wholesale and reselling, and if you follow my emails or anything else, you see that I'm out buying and selling wholesale lots every single day, and I work with a handful of people, especially during this fourth quarter, where we just put in a few $1,000 or a few $100 each. We pull it all together. We buy and sell the inventory. We all make a few bucks. Everyone's happy. No one's out making Bugatti money. Nobody's out promising everyone Bugatti money. We make our 10, 20, 30% and we move on, right? Like that's investment, not this crazy shyster stuff, right? Consequently, in order to pay interest, dividends, and maturing note payments, defendants resorted to using a combination of loans from outside lenders, merchant cash advances known as MCAs, money raised from new and existing investors, and transfers from other portfolio companies to cover their obligations, the document continued. At least $5.9 million in return payments to investors were actually Ponzi-like payments funded by other investors rather than the companies. So they take people's money, they buy these bankrupt companies. These bankrupt companies cannot make a profit. So all the money is sunk in here. There's no money coming out of it. They're generating just enough to, I guess, stay open. And so then the investors say, hey, I want my piece of the profit, but there is no profit. So in order to draw them in, they promise profit where there is no profit. And so they go back and they're like, okay, well, we can't pull any profit out of this company because there is none. So we're just going to go to other people and get money from them, and we'll pay these people with that money. That's how a Ponzi scheme works, right? When you use other people's money to pay what you promised somebody else. Like that's a Ponzi scheme through and through. The agency also accused Miriam Lopez of taking $16.1 million for personal use. And that's where the Ponzi schemes failed. So these two guys stole $16.1 million. If they had taken that 16.1 towards business instead of their own Rolls Royces and mansions and knowledge, they could have invested it, made legitimate money, paid the people off, still had some money left over, probably a couple million, and been just fine, and none of this would have happened. But it's greed. They just used that money to live a life of opulence, right? Not an everyday middle-class life like most of us live. They lived a life of Rollses and Bugattis and private jets, and that's where people get into trouble. You take all that money back, and they could take care of all their investors and still live good, still run a business, and still have a wonderful life. They don't got to have $16 million. They could have had $1.6 million and used the $15 million to pay off other investors and pay off what they needed to pay off and invest it and make real money, but they didn't. Lopez or Mir did not respond for a comment from the New York Post. Big shock that this guy, Tai Lopez, is actually facing SEC charges for allegedly running a $112 million Ponzi scheme. This is civil, and I guarantee you guys within the week or next week, these two are going to be charged criminally in federal court, probably in the Southern District of Florida, possibly in New York, depending on where their investors were and where the crimes took place and where they apparently jumping state lines. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Have you ever seen Tai Lopez? You ever heard of Tai Lopez? What did you think of Tai Lopez for the last 10 or 15 years? Did you feel like the guy was a scammer? Did you feel like there was something amiss in this story? Let me know in the comment section below. Tai Lopez, knowledge, here in my garage. Turns out he may be filming his next video here in my jail cell. Better than ever, guys. Make sure you keep your head on a swivel. Stay tuned. Make some money. I'll update this story as new news comes out on it. I appreciate you watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And make sure if you invest with somebody, you know what you're doing and you make sure they're on the up and up. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next time.